The morning of the 26th of January, 1565. From the battlements of Vijayanagara, the last emperor can already taste the dust of the Muslim coalition on his tongue. Gritty, metallic, final. Behind him, the Mahanavami platform, where only months earlier dancers had whirled in saffron clouds, stands silent, its sculptures of trumpeting elephants, now splashed with blood. Before him, the roads out of the city are rivers of refugees. Merchants clutching account books, courtesans cradling sitars, children dragging pet peacocks. No one sings. The very air seems to wait, breath held, for the crack of doom. How did the greatest Hindu realm ever raised south of the Vindhyas arrive at this single heartbeat of annihilation? And once the ember-red sun sets on these granite hills, what will survive of us? 1800. A Scotsman, Captain Colin Mackenzie, surveyor, spy, self-taught antiquarian, rides through the Deccan scrub. He carries a sextant, a 6-pound brass telescope, and a question that will haunt him for the remaining 22 years of his life. Who were the people that built a city larger than Rome at its height, then vanished so utterly that even their name survives only in village whispers? The locals call the place Al-Pertun, the ruined city. They warn him not to enter after dark. The sisters of the last emperor still walk the corridors, hair unbound, anklets tinkling like rain on copper roofs. But Mackenzie is a child of the Scottish Enlightenment. He believes every riddle has a Cartesian answer, so he climbs Mponga Hill at twilight, unfurls his sketchbook, and for the first time in 300 years a foreign eye surveys the skeleton of Vijayanagara, 11 domed stables for the imperial elephants, aqueducts on stone piers still carrying ghost water, lotus-shaped fountains choked by the roots of banyans older than the British Empire itself. He writes, almost apologetically, magnificence in ruins, yet the very stones seem to murmur a warning. Tonight, we lend our own ear to that murmur, because the story of Vijayanagara is not the tale of a single kingdom's rise and fall. It is the biography of an idea that India could weld north to south, Sanskrit to Tamil, bazaar to temple, into one cosmopolitan empire. It is also a parable of what happens when geography itself becomes weaponized, when trade routes turn into nooses, and when the very gods seem to choose sides. To understand Vijayanagara, we must first understand the Deccan, 300,000 square kilometers of sun-scorched granite, older than the first. Bacteria. Between the western and eastern Ghats, the plateau tilts eastward like a tilted anvil. Every monsoon, the clouds smash against the western escarpment, drenching the Malabar coast in liquid jade, while the interior remains a tawny lion skin of grass and thorn. Down this tilt run 4 great arteries, the Godavari, the Krishna, the Kaveri, the Tungabhadra, each a liquid highway carrying Himalayan silt to the Bay of Bengal. Whoever commands the fords commands the trade in pepper, pearls, war horses, and ideas. Human memory along these rivers is stratified like the banyan's roots. 75 millennia ago, the first Homo sapiens arrive, following the coast from Africa. 10 millennia ago, they paint themselves dancing with antlered deer inside the rock shelters of Bhimbetka. 6 millennia before Christ, farmers in Baluchistan coax wheat and barley from the Indus alluvium. By 3000 BC, Mohenjo-Daro boasts indoor plumbing and a port at Lothal that trades with Sumer. But the monsoon weakens, the Saraswati dries, the city's empty. Migrants drift southeastward, carrying with them the memory of a goddess who rides a tiger and the conviction that rivers are goddesses, not boundaries. Out of these wanderers, 2 visions of the divine Crystallis: Shiva, the dancer who destroys in order to create; Vishnu, the preserver who descends again and again as Rama, as Krishna, to steady the tilting world. Between them, they leave no room for absolute evil, only cycles. But cycles can be broken. And in the 12th century of the Common Era, a new monotheism gallops across the Hindu Kush, convinced that idol breakers are doing God's work. By 1192, Muhammad of Ghor controls the Punjab. By 1310, the Delhi Sultanate levies tribute as far south as the Krishna. Every temple raided, every bronze Buddha melted, sends shockwaves southward. Local chiefs: Yadavas in Devagiri, Hoysalas in Halabidu, Kakatiyas in Warangal, respond the way granite responds to sudden frost. They splinter. Into this fractured mosaic step 2 brothers, Harahara and Buka, sons of a chieftain of the Sangama clan, veterans of the Kakatiya armies, now unemployed, because their king has been flayed alive by the Sultan of Delhi. The year is 1336. The brothers flee to the hills above Anagundi, a village whose name means elephant pit. According to one chronicle, they arrive carrying nothing but a copperplate grant from the local sage Vijayanagara, bearer of knowledge, who promises them a vision, a kingdom that will be the final dike against the tide of Islam, a city whose walls will be the granite hills themselves, a name that means city of victory, Vijayanagara. They begin modestly, a mud fort, a ditch, a shrine to the goddess Virupaksha who has watched over these rocks since the Neolithic. But the brothers understand that victory in the Deccan is not measured in acres, it is measured in water. So they quarry aqueducts, punch step wells into basalt, build the first of more than 2,000 irrigation sluices. Rice now grows where tigers once lapped. Population doubles, then quadruples. Caravans from China bring cobalt for the potters, Cambodian incense for the priests, Andalusian horses for the new royal bodyguard. By 1346, the brothers mint their first gold coins, varahas, bearing the boar incarnation of Vishnu. The boar, legend says, lifted the earth from the primordial flood. The symbolism is unmistakable. Vijayanagara will lift the south from the deluge of invasion. Yet empires, like diamonds, are forged under crushing pressure. To the north, the Bahmani Sultanate erupts in 1347, founded by a renegade Turk who declares jihad on the infidel kings of the Karnataka. To the south, the Hindu Pandyan Empire collapses into civil war. Refugees flood Vijayanagara carrying manuscripts on palm leaf, introducing Tamil epics to a Kannada court. The Sangama dynasty responds with a feat rare in medieval politics. They legislate cosmopolitanism. Inscriptions in the capital are trilingual, Sanskrit for the gods, Kannada for the people, Tamil for the merchants. Arabic is not banned, it is taxed. Every mosque is granted a revenue-free village to maintain its caravanserai. The result is a boom that would make Dubai blush. By the early 15th century, Vijayanagara covers the entire Deccan south of the Krishna. The city swells to 700 square kilometers, larger than contemporary Constantinople. Its population, 500,000 souls. Its army, 1 million men, including 30,000 cavalry and a corps of 900 war elephants clad in chainmail. But size is not destiny. Narrative is about to pivot on the hinge of one man's ambition. Deva Raya II ascends the throne in 1424. He is 22, fluent in 6 languages, suspicious of every one of them. He tours the frontier incognito, learns that his father's empire is a mosaic of fractious Nayakas, barons who pay tribute only when the imperial army camps, outside their walls. So he invents a new office, the Nyankara system. Land is measured with ropes of buffalo hide. Every Nayaka receives a jaghir proportional to the cavalry he must maintain. Failure to answer the imperial muster is treason. Success is rewarded with the right to collect tolls on the diamond mines of Kolar. In effect, Deva Raya Deccan creates the world's first performance-based feudalism. But the Sultan of Bidar is also reforming. He imports Portuguese gunsmiths, renegados from Goa, who cast bronze cannons that can hurl a 30-pound ball the length of 3 cricket pitches. In 1443, the Bahmani army crosses the Krishna. At the ford of Mudgol, their artillery smashes the imperial vanguard. Deva Raya II retreats to Vijayanagara, locks the gates, and does something unprecedented. He invites 12 Italian engineers from Malacca, shipwrights who once built carracks for the Ming. Together they design a cannon forged from a single sheet of wrought iron cooled by the waters of the Tungabhadra. The barrel is 12 feet long. The inscription around its muzzle reads, "Even the stars must yield." The rematch comes in 1448. The Bahmani host, confident that gunpowder is a Muslim monopoly, advances in parade order. The Vijayanagara guns open fire at 1,000 yards. The Sultan's front line evaporates. By sunset, the Tungabhadra runs red. The chronicles speak of fish that refuse to bite for a full lunar month. Deva Raya II enters Bidar in triumph, restores the Hindu king of Orissa as a vassal, and issues a gold coin depicting himself treading on a tiger, an unmistakable message to every Nayaka. The empire is no longer a confederacy. It is a monarchy under the sign of Vishnu. Yet every apex casts a longer shadow. The Sangamas grow complacent. They patronize poets who compare them to the Pandavas, forgetting that the Mahabharata ends in genocide. Revenue from the spice trade is siphoned into temple towers higher than the Egyptian obelisks. Meanwhile, the Portuguese viceroy Afonso de Albuquerque blockades the Malabar coast. diverting the pepper caravans to Cochin. Vijayanagara's customs receipts plummet by a third in a decade. The empire borrows from Hindu moneylenders at 30% interest. When it defaults, the lenders foreclose on entire districts. Peasants flee to the jungles. The diamond mines flood. In 1485, the Sangamas are overthrown by one of their own generals, Saluva Narasimha. He is a man in a hurry. He marches his troops 40 kilometers a day to reach the capital before the news of the coup leaks. But haste cannot outrun entropy. When he dies in 1491, his teenage heir is murdered by palace eunuchs. The empire fractures into 5 regional commands, each governed by a former treasurer who now styles himself Mahamandaleshvara, Great Lord of the Realm. Among them, a chieftain of the Tuluva clan, Krishnadevaraya, watches from the fortress of Udayagiri. He is 26, schooled by the poet Alasani Pedana, who teaches him that kingship is a poem whose me reinvented each generation. In 1509, Krishnadevaraya ascends the throne during the monsoon that fails. The granaries are half full. The Bahmani Sultanate has splintered into 5 shards. Bijapur, Golconda, Bidar, each hungry for legitimacy. They form a loose coalition, the Muslim Deccan. Their first joint campaign. Retake the Raichur Doab, the fertile tongue between Krishna and Tungabhadra that feeds Vijayanagara's capital. Krishnadevaraya responds not with siege engines but with spectacle. He orders the reconstruction of the Hazara Rama temple, its walls carved not with gods but with scenes from his own life. Here he is reviewing troops. Here he is receiving envoys from Pegu. Here he is writing a Telugu epic on a banana leaf. The message is subtle. The king is not merely a protector of Dharma. He is its author. In 1510, he marches north with an army that includes 500 Portuguese musketeers, renegados who have traded Goa for higher pay. At Raichur, the allied Deccani sultans field a combined force of 80,000 and, crucially, 56 cannon cast in the foundries of Golconda. The battle lasts 3 days. On the first, the Sultan's artillery drives the imperial infantry into the river. On the second, Krishnadevaraya personally leads a cavalry charge at dusk, his armor plated with gold so that he appears a moving sun. On the third, the Portuguese gunners explode the enemy powder store. The blast is heard in Bijapur, 90 kilometers away. The Raichur Doab becomes Vijayanagara territory once more. The emperor enters the citadel, orders the mosque preserved, its imam granted a silk robe. Then he sits beneath a tamarind tree and composes a poem. Victory is a fruit that must be eaten quickly before the worms of pride hatch. For the next decade, the empire reaches its apogee. Krishnadevaraya leads annual expeditions against Orissa in the east, the Portuguese in the west, the restless Nayakas in the south. He returns each summer to Vijayanagara, where the Mahanavami festival now lasts 9 nights of continuous music. The Italian traveler Ludovico di Vardema, visiting in 1512, writes, "The king rides beneath a parasol of beaten gold. Behind him, 12,000 women in cloth of silk, each carrying a rosewater sprinkler. The air is so thick with perfume that bees die drunk. Yet even bees die only once. Empires die by degrees. In 1520, Krishnadevaraya falls ill, possibly cholera contracted while reviewing irrigation canals. He recovers, but the vigor is gone. The court poets begin to praise his brother Achyuta instead. In 1524, he crowns his infant son heir. Then, on the same day, has the boy's maternal uncle executed for treason. The court is appalled. Factional ice cracks beneath every sandal. In 1529, the emperor dies aged 42, officially of fever, unofficially of poison administered by a concubine whose father's lands had been confiscated. Within a month, the Portuguese factor at Goa writes to Lisbon, "The king is dead. The city sighs like a woman who knows she will soon be widowed. The decline that follows is not a fall but a fraying. Achyuta buys peace by returning Raichur to Bijapur. He then retreats into astrology, spending nights in the observatory built by